And we are live. Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to She Built It Boss Lady Chronicles. I am your host, Sharita Gaskins-Tillett. This is the show where we feature the amazing stories of women who are owning their power to transform their lives. I am super excited to have you guys join us tonight. If you are watching us live, please say hi in the comments. Put your questions in the chat. We're happy to answer questions. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay and still put all of your questions in the chat. Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that I am hosting a goal setting workshop on next Saturday, November 23rd at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to put the link to register in the chat. This is totally and completely free, but I'm doing this to help us get on track with our 2025. We're Boss Lady Dream Builders here. And in order to build our dream, we have to have a solid plan. If we plan to fail, we fail. Wait, hold on. If we fail to plan, we plan to fail. So we have to get a solid game plan together. You know, if you think about it, do you know where your 2024 goals are? Because a lot of times we write those goals in January, them away. We don't look at them again till December. And unfortunately, we find that the goals have not been accomplished and that they're very similar to the things we want to accomplish. So there's more to accomplishing our goals than wanting them, than actually having goals. So, you know, we'll begin the goal setting process on next Saturday so that we are ready to take 2025 by storm. So now on to this episode. Tonight I have joining me Krista McLellan. Krista is a public speaker, published author, QuickBooks geek, and business coach. Krista's passion stems from her own challenges juggling financial crisis after her husband's illness. She emphasizes financial literacy, especially for non-accountants, offering practical insights on managing money. Her mission transcends numbers, empowering individuals to transform fear into confidence. Welcome, Krista.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We're happy to have you here tonight. And usually I like to start just by having you take us through your journey. So, you know, tell us about your background, where you grew up, kind of, I guess, how you grew up, and how did we get from there to where we are today?
Well, I grew up with a single mom who had to penny pinch, and I used to resent the ways that she would, like saving those slivers of soap and making one big bar of soap and cutting open the toilet paper, toothpaste and scraping it out. And I used to resent a lot of those things, not no store-bought food, everything was homemade. I resented it. And then I became a single mom, and I used those tools that I learned as a kid, and they came in really handy. And I was really, really grateful for those things that I had learned that my children now use as well, because they're on their own now. They're older. But there are things that we learn through hardships that serve us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a firm believer that everything happens to us for a reason, and everything is helping to shape and form us into the people that we were meant to be. Now, were you always someone who dealt with numbers?
No. I actually, and I say this to people, they're like, I'm bad at math. Okay, so am I. I failed math in college. I did not
Oh,
graduate
wow.
college. Yeah. No, I took math and I failed it. Then I took it with a tutor and I failed it. So they put me in remedial math and I struggled. And it turns out I'm dyslexic. And I do struggle with that type of thing, but bookkeeping really isn't math. And that's what I tell people. If I can do it, I can show you how to do it. So I struggled with that, ended up working at a pet store because I love animals. I always wanted to be a vet, but couldn't get into the program. And then I went from taking care of animals to being a hospice nurse and working in home health care until I got pregnant with my oldest. And I really got burnt out of being around sick people all the time.
Hmm.
And so I ended up staying home and opening a home daycare so I could stay home with I didn't When I got a dog, I didn't want to leave my puppy. I could not imagine leaving my baby. So I found a way of making money from
Okay.
home. And I opened a home daycare, which led me into doing the books for the daycare, which I turns out I'm good at. And the CPA that did my taxes that year said, "Hey, can you help my other daycare providers? Because this is really good.
Oh,
You missed your
wow.
calling." So that's how this was never intentional. It's always been a pivot, and I love it.
Yeah, but it sounds like you just kept going. It's like one thing led to the next thing. And what I love about that is, you know, you weren't afraid to try something new. And that's the thing. You know, we always say that the thing is going to lead you to the thing, right?
Mhm.
So it's really interesting. You say that bookkeeping is not math. So what is bookkeeping then?
So bookkeeping, what I have found is that it's really understanding cash flow. It's understanding where does our money come from and where does it go to? That's all it is. Where did it come from? Where did it go to? You let the technology do the math for you. You know,
Okay.
thank you. I love QuickBooks, right? It does the math for us. We just have to know how to use the program. And when you break down the basis of the program, you're recording where did that money come from? Did it come from a sale and go into my bank account? Did it come from my bank account, my personal bank account, and go into my business bank account? Did it come from my business bank account and pay a vendor for a supply? That's all it is where did it come from and where did it go to? That's all we're tracking.
Okay. So now did you teach yourself? Because I know you said you weren't a good math student. Did you teach yourself to do this?
I am self-taught, but I've also had a lot of I've been very blessed with the people that have come into my life. I One of my bigger clients had a wonderful CPA who would share from Boston. I'm a New England girl, grew up in Boston, but I'm in New Hampshire now. And the CPA was in Boston, and he would, back in the day when we used Log Me In, and we would share screens, and he would show me that, okay, you've got the idea, but this is how to do it better. And he would tell
Mhm.
me why.
Okay.
And he felt that by empowering me on the process, that I would make his job a lot easier. And I worked with him for 11 years. Was
Interesting.
really, really lucky that I got him.
Mhm.
And he just anything I wanted to know, he would share. He would share the information.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, mentoring is so important. And I think too that it's important for us not to be stingy with the information. You know, sometimes we have this scarcity mindset where we think that there's not enough to go around, and that somehow if we teach other people, then we need to be threatened that they're going to take business away from us or clients away from us or whatever. But the reality is that there's enough for everybody, and it's really good for us to help each other. So I really like that aspect of things.
Well, along
Now,
that vein,
uh-huh.
I love teaching business owners to not need me.
Ah, that even better,
If
huh?
you want to learn how to do your own books, and I guess a lot of bookkeepers won't do that, I will absolutely train you to do your own books and train myself out of a job. I've actually created a more of a business doing that by supporting business owners to do their own books because a lot of small business owners don't have the cash flow to be able to afford a bookkeeper in the beginning. So how can I support you and even business owners, anybody? I don't care if you're a business owner, you're just doing your personal numbers.
Sure.
Don't give up that power to somebody else. Even if they're doing it, you should still understand your own money.
Absolutely. And you make a really great point with that, because I do think that that's where a lot of business owners get into trouble, because they don't understand their books to someone else. And then when they get into trouble, ultimately they're responsible. You know,
Mhm.
be it regulatory trouble or cash flow trouble or whatever it is, it still ultimately falls back to you as the business owner. And so I'm a firm believer that it's important that you know, or have at least a working knowledge of every aspect of your business.
Well, here's the thing, bookkeepers are a huge source of fraud in the
Mm,
business. We have the keys to the city. So I
yeah,
love to teach business owners how to keep an eye on their bookkeeper, how to know that their bookkeeper is doing what you pay them to do. Or if you're a partnership, I just was working with a client. He hired me because he said, "Hey, something's wrong with my books. Can you check it out?" I wasn't the bookkeeper. It wasn't the bookkeeper stealing money. It was actually his business partner
Mm.
taking, we're talking over $500,000
Oh, wow.
gone. And, no wonder why the business is struggling, but he had never plugged in to his own banking, his own bookkeeping to know what should be going on and what was missing. And, you know, you can't just trust people to always do the right thing. You have to keep an eye on your money.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So now take me through the process. So I'm a small business owner. So if I were interested in learning how to do my own books and I approached you, what's the process? Do you have a formal program or is it more casual? What's the time frame? Tell us a bit about that.
So I do a couple of things. Some people we do one-on-one, and I also offer group classes. So of course a group classes is less expensive,
Sure.
but it's a much more general, right? It's not specific to you and just your
Yeah.
business and specific to your needs. It's a general, how do we do this? So if people want to get together a group class so they can reduce the cost, great, not a problem at all. If you want one-on-one, we can do that too. I find that after 3 hours, people zone out.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about this forever. Most people don't have that bandwidth.
Right.
So I try to limit the class to about 2.5 hour sessions. And there's 3 classes to it where we start with the very basics of understanding, what QuickBooks is, what it's capable of, what you can do and can't do, how to maneuver through this. And then we go through your income and your expenses and how to get reports and how to do all the things that you need to do. So that's class 1 and 2. The third class is okay. Now you're going to go and play with this for a while and you're going to come back to me with your issues. And typically class 1 and class 2 are a week to 2 weeks apart, so they can build pretty quickly on each other. The third class is usually 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks later, because
Okay.
now you've been playing in it. Now you realize what you don't know.
Okay. And you're better prepared to ask questions.
Mhm. Yeah. And this is where it's fun. It's like, okay, now you've played in it. Now you're like, wait, what did I do? And we can go in and say, okay, this is how to work this better. This is how to get where you want to go. And if you have specific questions, I can answer them for you. And it makes it so people are really empowered to either oversee their bookkeeper, keep a better eye on their cash flow, because cash flow is the lifeblood of your business. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much you have in sales if you can't manage your cash flow.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Wow. So a very valuable service. So I know you mentioned that you started doing your books for the daycare, which then led you kind of here. But you also mentioned that this, I guess this aspect of your business was born out of necessity following kind of a difficult season in your life. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So, my husband passed away 13 years ago. I was not prepared. It was a very, very short illness. It was a very unexpected illness. And I went from having him being the breadwinner, and here I am, what I do, but he handled the money. This
Mm,
was before my business really got going. He handled the money. He did it all. I didn't know, like, it was tied to his bank account, his email, his cell phone. Like, I didn't even know how to pay our mortgage.
wow.
Um, and I always say there's always somebody in the marriage that is in control of the money, right?
Yes.
But I always say it should still be a team sport, right?
Yes.
There's going to be a captain of the team, but there should still be a team. And even if you're not the one handling doing the heavy lifting, still be involved. My husband did not take the control from me.
You gave
I
it.
forced it on him. I didn't want to do it because I thought I was bad with money and math.
Right.
I just thought I wasn't good at it. And I'm sorry, none of us are born experts. It's not that we're not good at it. We were never taught.
Right. Yeah, you make a really great point there because there's so many things that we kind of, discount ourselves and dismiss, almost summarily without any real reason, just because we've not been exposed. So the first time we try something, especially my audience tends to be kind of high achieving women. And if we're not good at something the first time, we write ourselves off like, oh, I'm not good at that. But nobody is good at anything the very first time that they try. And so, you make a great point that, if there's something that's important for us to know, we have the ability to learn. We definitely can learn. So what was your learning what was your learning curve like? So I mean, I can only
Brutal.
imagine that here you are, you've lost your husband, you don't even know how to pay the mortgage. How did you navigate that? And what kinds of things do you suggest that people put in place now to avoid going through what you went through?
So navigating it was going to court because my house was in foreclosure.
Oh boy.
It's not that I didn't have the money, I was putting the money aside, but because everything was really, even though my name was on the deed, everything was in his name. So I had to go to court to get it in my name. So I always say, be part of the bill paying process, know how to do it. I met with somebody last week and I asked her the question. She goes, oh, I don't know. My husband handles that. And I was like, your homework is to go
Mm,
find out that process. Doesn't mean you have to take it away from him, but find out the process.
yes.
Even if you just twice, 3 times a year, be part of it. It doesn't have to be every week or every month. Just know the process, how he
Right.
does it, so that you can do it. So that was the first thing. The second thing was figuring out how the heck I was going to pay my bills because I was hiding my car in the garage from the repo man because it turned out my husband wasn't so good with money either.
Oh wow.
We were behind on things.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was hiding my car from the repo man. The very first Christmas without him, my kids were 8 and 11 at the time. And, I didn't have money for Christmas. And he was a firefighter. And the local firefighter that he was with, the department he was with, had given my kids Christmas gift cards
Hmm.
because they knew I didn't have anything.
Sure.
And here I was trying to figure out do I pay for heat? Or do I get new
Mhm.
tires because my car isn't safe? And hello, I live in New Hampshire. We have ice.
Yes.
And my kids gave me their gift cards and told me they wanted new tires for Christmas. And that was I felt like such a failure. I was proud of them,
Mhm.
but I
Yeah.
wasn't proud of me.
Okay.
And I was like Scarlett O'Hara vowing to never be poor again, right? I was never going to put my kids in that position again.
Yeah.
And I was determined to take control of my money. And I went online and I learned every possible thing I could about understanding bookkeeping and cash flow and getting out of debt and renegotiating things and how do I handle this? And I gamified it with my kids and they became teammates on that.
So tell us about that. What do you mean you gamified it?
Well, I stopped using bank. I put cash in envelopes and I would write on the envelope how much we needed for the mortgage, for food that week, for gas, for whatever. And the whole game would be, especially when it came to utilities and the extras, would be to have money left over in that envelope.
Okay.
And I had a money date with my kids every week where we discussed our money. And
Wow.
I
Wait a minute.
didn't,
Hold on. I want to stop you right there. A money date with your kids every week. Do you know how advanced that is? Because I talk to people all the time who say they never learned about money in their homes. So I think it's really remarkable that you had a money date with your kids, that you actually made them a part of the process. Because I think we as parents, I guess we feel like we're sheltering the kids, but then we do it almost to their detriment because then when they get out into the world, they don't know how to manage their money. So I just want to stop right there and applaud you for being a trendsetter and having those money dates with your kids because it's just so important. I'm sure now because they're adults now. You and I have chatted a bit before this. I know they're adults now, and I'm sure that it's made a big difference in the way that they manage their money, in the way that they look at money.
Well, I will tell you that don't give me that much credit. I was selfish.
Okay.
I didn't want to be thought of as a mean mummy that wasn't giving them anything.
Okay.
It was very self-serving where I wanted them to know that I wasn't saying no to be mean. I was saying no because we didn't have it. And I let
Yeah.
them choose. And I said, okay, this is where we're at. We can give up our home. We can go live with Nana. Life will be easier. Um, but I'm not the only one making this choice because I'm not the only one impacted. What do you guys want to do? If we want to stay here, it's going to be hard. We're going to have to make some serious sacrifices. And we gave up cable, and we gave up Christmas presents, and we gave up birthday presents, and we gave up new clothes, and we gave up a lot. We gave up a lot of heat. Our house was very cold. We would wear coats in our house in the winter.
Hmm.
Um, and we would sleep in one bed to stay warm. But it was important to us that was the choice we made, was to stay in our home, and we made that choice together. My children are very children. They're grown adults, grown women now, 21 and 24. They are very aware of the value of a dollar. They are extremely good with their money. They both live on their own. Rent is not cheap nowadays.
No,
They
it is
each have
not.
an apartment with over $2,000 a month for rent. They both afford it on their own. They've been out of the house for 2 years.
Wonderful. So see, even though you may have had selfish motives, I still want to give you that applause
It was
because
good.
well, no, seriously though, Krista, because not only did you give them that knowledge, but you included them. And that's something else that a lot of parents don't do. Kids don't feel like they have a voice or have a say in what happens to them. They're just kind of told what's going to be, and they have to live with it and adjust. And you actually gave them a voice and gave them a say in how things would go in your household. So I still want to give you your applause as being a trendsetter, whether you want it or not.
Thank you. I think they appreciated it too. I mean, it was definitely the three of us against the world. We have a very close relationship. It was hard. It was a hard childhood for them. It's not something I wished on them, but it made them very resilient. It made them very resourceful, very grown up at a young age. I did get a lot of other parents thinking I wasn't doing a great thing for my children, that I
Hmm.
was too harsh on them, that it wasn't fair to expose them to those realities. But what else was I going to do? Life, we were in a tough spot.
Right. And I think again, I don't think it was a bad thing. I think it is a good thing because life is life, right? And if you
Mhm.
shield them all the time, then when life happens, it's like this rude awakening. But if they learn about life little by little as life unfolds, then I think it does make them more resilient, and I think it makes them more functional in the long run because this
Yeah,
is something they've seen before. They know how to navigate it, and they can apply it to other situations. So they can say, okay, yes, there was, I'm facing something that's difficult. I've seen difficult things before, and I know how to approach something difficult, and I know how to navigate it, which, their peers maybe don't have that history and that experience.
yeah, it was. I love how they've always been here to support me, and they've never taken for granted that I could be at an event, so that they became very appreciative when I was at one of their events, because I couldn't always. It was one of me and two of them. If I
Yes.
was at one, I couldn't be at the other one.
Yeah.
So, they knew that it was a blessing, that I could be there for them. And even my youngest was a really amazing dancer, and my oldest gave up her funding for her soccer to give it to my youngest for dance, to because she's like, "Mommy, I'm not going to be a professional soccer player." She was very young. She was 13 at the time. She said, "But M could potentially be a professional dancer. I can give her my money to have more classes."
Hmm. Wow.
And that was just And they've both done that for each other through their whole lives now, that they come to each other's aid. They come to my aid. They're very selfless in helping us as a family survive, help each other have what the other one might want. It's just a natural thing to them. And I think it's because of the tragedies that they did live through.
So when did the tide begin to turn? And, because you said you were like Scarlett O'Hara, you vowed to never be poor again. So when did the tide turn, and what is life like today?
So life today is so different. It took us about 3 years, 3 hard years, and then things did start to change. We did dig out of a lot of debt. We just really streamlined our money and our finances. We were more intentional with where our money went, and things started to get easier. My business got busier. I learned how to um, charge properly, collect
Mm.
properly, and value my time. And now I am remarried to my childhood sweetheart.
Oh, interesting.
My first date, my first kiss. And we met when I was actually set up out on a date, and he walked in, and he was not the date I was set up with, but he walked in, and like that was it. It all came crashing back, and we've been together, and we got married 2 years ago. My children moved out together into an apartment together 2 years ago, and then they got their own apartments when they kind of tested the waters to see how they would do,
Okay.
and then they both got their own apartments. So they're very, very not far from me. I see them and get to visit. They're living their best lives, and we're very blessed.
Well, congratulations to you on finding love in an unexpected way.
Very unexpected. Yeah, I never thought I'd ever get married again. Never wanted to.
But you don't know what life holds, right?
No, and when you leave the door open, you'd be amazing what walks in.
Yeah, yeah. So if people are interested in working with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or my website, embookkeeping, embookkeeping.com. And if you look on Facebook and Instagram, you can also message me there. I try to send out some interesting tidbits, when I notice that someone's asking me the same question. Like right
Mhm.
now, there's a lot about the BOI. File your BOI, it's free and
Yes.
easy. There's always questions around 1099s, and I try to send things out on the social media to help educate people so that they don't feel lost. And if there is a question, I love doing free meetings to give people little mini game plans. Okay, here's where you're stuck. This is how you can get to that next step.
Okay, so now when you said free, it reminded me of something that you said earlier that I wanted to kind of circle back to, and that was charging appropriately and valuing your worth and your time. Can you unpack that for me a little bit? Because I think a lot of business owners, especially women business owners, struggle with that because we tend to be giving people, and and we almost feel bad about charging people for things. But the reality is, you took the time and invested the money to learn this, to gain this knowledge, and you're performing a service that ultimately is helping people to save money or improve their lives in some way. So unpack that for me a little bit. Like, what were the mindset shifts that you had to embrace? What was your process like?
So realizing that I do have something of value to offer other people, that I do have a skill set that I've invested a lot of time and energy into creating and crafting and bettering myself. And that is of value to other people. So knowing I it came to knowing what I needed to make to pay my bills.
Okay.
That's how I found out what I needed to charge per hour.
Okay.
That was a hard pill to swallow.
Hmm.
To believe in myself to be worth that amount of hourly rate. That's hard to do in the beginning.
So were you surprised? So tell me this. How did your clients respond, and were you surprised by the response?
Yes. I have found that you're right, as women, we tend to charge differently. It's a double-edged sword because we're nurturers. So
Yes.
we have that compassion, which is wonderful, but then we do ourselves a disservice in earning because we're compassionate. When see it all the time, when men go into business, they go in, they invoice, they collect the money, they go into business, they hire the accountant, they hire the janitor, they hire the marketer. Women tend to just change hats. We go in
Mm,
and we go and quote something, but then we see this single mom who's struggling and we're like, okay, she needs a break,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we then lower our bill. That's a great thing on so many levels. However, we can't undervalue ourselves. If you're not making enough to pay your bills, you're not going to be in business very long, and then you can't help anybody.
Right.
So you've got to know what your minimum is. Now, do I have some bigger businesses that I charge more so that I can charge the newer, younger, struggling businesses less? Absolutely. And when I did have to do that hard conversation, I had a mentor help me craft the letter. I did lose clients,
Hmm.
but I lost the ones who didn't value what I did.
Right.
I
Now
lost the
wait. I have a question. Did any of them come back though? Did they come back after realizing that actually you did?
Yes. So here's the thing. I also had a CPA poach my clients. So I was referring um, clients to him for taxes, and he's poaching them for bookkeeping. And he pretended like, oh, I didn't know they were your clients. I'm like, well, I'm not a shoe shiner. So
Right.
yeah, they're my bookkeeping clients. You can't steal, like, it's not ethical to steal them. But wouldn't you know, most of them tried to come back.
Wow.
I then had a higher rate, and
Yes.
some of them I didn't want back.
Uh-huh. So there you have it. Yeah.
And
But
I
I
was in a position to not have to take them all back.
think that's the best quote unquote revenge, right?
The best revenge is good living.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I love that. I love that you were in a position, I think that a lot of times we feel almost a desperation, like we have to take everybody because, the business isn't at the level where it is, where we need it to be. It's not producing the money that we need. And so we're coming from this place of despair. But it's great that you were able to approach it from a place of abundance where you could actually be selective and say, you know what, I don't want you as a client. Or the ones that you did take back, that you were taking them back on your terms and that they had a greater appreciation for the value that you brought in the service that you provided.
I think that what I have found over the years is that we get more of what we focus on. If you focus on lack, you'll have more lack. If you focus on your stresses, if you focus on what is bad in the world, that's more of what you're going to see. I have chosen to not be a victim. I have chosen to focus on my blessings. I have chosen to be grateful. Even during the hard times, I started a gratitude journal and I give my children gratitude journals. And every night we would write down the three things that we were most grateful for that day. And I will tell you, some days I would write literally as I was trying to get my brain to think blah blah blah. Like it's like really, what is there
Yeah.
to be grateful for? Life is not so great right now. And sometimes it was like my kids hugging me.
Yeah.
Just that snuggle at night and that sweet little head on my lap was was what I was grateful for. I would write down having a roof over my head. Something as simple as that. And eventually it would build and
Yes.
we'd go through and my kids would remind me of some
Mm,
of the good things so that I could focus on those good things. And we made a point of focusing on what we were blessed with, not what we didn't have. And walking around feeling blessed is a pretty good feeling.
it is. It is. Absolutely. Well, this is a great ending point. We're ending on a high note. Is there anything else that you want to leave with the viewers? Again, keeping in mind that most of the people who follow me are, high achieving women, many small business owners. But I think that we do have in common a few things that women business owners, the part about the worth and about charging appropriately, sometimes not feeling like we're good enough. And then I love this gratitude piece. And then there's some more of that stellar parenting that you want to keep downplaying, but again, teaching the kids to do the gratitude journal and to focus on the positive as well. Are there any parting words that you'd like to leave with the audience?
I have found and been blessed with realizing that there is an amazing sisterhood of women that are there to support each other. Um, I have focused my business now on working really solely with women because I just love how women give to each other. And if you look for it, you will find a tribe, a sisterhood of other women that will give to you and that you can give back to. And by sharing and collaborating, we all succeed.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, Krista, for joining me. Guys, follow Krista on Facebook if you are looking for an excellent bookkeeper who will teach you how to keep your books, how to keep track of your bookkeeper, how to fire your bookkeeper and fire her and do your own books. Krista's your girl. I'm going to put all of her contact information in the comments, but definitely check her out, support her. We will probably be seeing her again in the future. That's it for tonight. Again, reminder that the goal setting workshop is happening next Saturday. The link is in the comments. Definitely come to this because you want to position yourself to succeed in 2025. And we are actually going to be looking at 8 areas of life. So this is not just about your business. It's not just about your health. This is about whole life healing and abundance, just building an abundance for yourself and for your family. So again, the link is going to be in the comments, and I would love to see you there next Saturday, the 23rd at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you again, Krista. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to be at that workshop.
Excellent. All right, guys, take care. Have a wonderful night.